It's Tiguan time, and by that I mean it's time for a new one of these. This of course is Volkswagen's Tiguan midsize SUV, what could be its most important launch this year because it's an all-new generation version. But what's changed since the previous one, and importantly, how can it possibly stand out in such a crowded field of competitors? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
The third generation Tiguan arrives in 3 trim levels with 3 engine options, and an early surprise is the lack of a huge price jump between the new car and the old one. The base life grade is available with only the base 110 TSI engine in front-wheel drive, and it starts from $44,990 before on-roads, making it just $1,000 more expensive than the car it replaces. And while this still has it competing with mid-tier trim levels of its popular mainstream rivals, there's been a big jump in equipment too. Highlights on the life include 19-inch alloy wheels, full LED exterior lights, a completely rethought interior with a large 12.9-inch multimedia touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and dual wireless chargers, a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster with the full virtual cockpit software, and even little luxuries like tri-zone climate control and a powered tailgate. From there, you step up to the elegance, which can be chosen with either the base 110 TSI engine in front-wheel drive or with the mid-spec 150 TSI engine in all-wheel drive. This car adds various luxury trimmings to the spec list, like power-adjustable leather seats with heating, ventilation, and massage functions, upgraded LED headlights with things like a cornering function, rear privacy glass, and chrome styling highlights. Then there's the R-Line grade, which can be chosen with either the mid-grade 150 TSI engine or the top-spec 195 TSI engine, which may be familiar from the Golf GTI. Both are all-wheel drive and equipped with an R-Line body kit and styling touches inside and out. The 150 TSI gets cloth manually adjustable seats with integrated headrests, while the 195 TSI gets pretty much everything, with leather seats and even larger alloy wheels. Only the 150 TSI Elegance and the 195 TSI R-Line get the larger 15-inch multimedia screen as standard, although the 110 TSI Elegance and 150 TSI R-Line can get this unit with sat-nav and premium audio as an option. When it comes to value, the massive jumps to get into the 150 TSI Elegance and 195 R-Line are notable, pushing the car into premium territory and making the lower grade version of each the best value in the range.
So when I first drove this car overseas, there was something that kind of bugged me about it because this new generation car, in a rare instance, somehow looks smaller than the car that came beforehand. And I couldn't figure out why, because technically it's not. It's actually longer and wider than the previous generation Tiguan. But I think I've figured it out now. Just looking at this car a little bit more, you can see it's still got that tough wide bumper that comes around the front. But the way that it tapers in at the top here really kind of narrows the silhouette down quite a bit. And I think it's quite clever because it feels and looks like a little bit of a smaller, more nimble car than it did before. And I appreciate the subtlety of that because these days every car sort of enters into this arms race of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but Volkswagen have really made the most of the dimensions on offer here to the point where even the wheelbase on this car is the same as the previous car, even though it's a little bit longer. The big dimension that has changed is the height. It's actually 20 mil shorter than the car that came before, and that's important because it brings that drag coefficient down and makes the car overall more efficient, which is really cool. But I really like the curves. They have really grown on me since this car was revealed. I quite like the boxy look of the previous car. Like, it really was a bit of a box, but now this thing has become sort of curvy and sort of more aerodynamic, and I really appreciate that about it. This one is a mid-spec kind of R-Line 150, and this is my favorite wheel choice right here too. Now, around the rear here, there is a much more contemporary touch to this car as well, with this light bar working its way across, and of course that little Tiguan font there as well, really sort of tidying things up. And one thing I've always liked about Tiguan, how they integrate the spoiler into the tailgate there. Now, hopping into the cabin of the Tiguan, and it really has leaped into the future in terms of its entire design aesthetic and its cabin layout and everything, for better or worse. Now, one of obviously the big things about that is you've got a massive central multimedia touchscreen in here. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay, all those nice little touches. It's reasonably fast and easy to work with. There are a couple of confusing menus in there, like several different kind of settings menus and things like that. And of course, one of the large downsides that Volkswagen's kind of walking back from now are these sort of touch-based sliders that are built into this screen. You see new Skoda products coming through now actually have dials. We're seeing a lot more of that. However, one thing they have done is put buttons back on the steering wheel where before they were sort of haptic feedback ones in especially these R-Line grade cars. However, it does feel a lot more modern in here, and that's because that previous car did feel pretty sparse by the time that it was working its way out the door. After all, it was 10 years old. It had sort of a big empty kind of space here, but this is much more kind of filled in, a much more kind of premium cabin vibe. You've got ambient lighting across the range. You've got this sort of gloss panel here, a lot more soft touch materials. And I think Volkswagen's digital dash cluster is still the best in the industry. There's a lot of imitators, but this one still is the best when it comes to customization, the speed of it, and the way it functions and looks. So all points there. Now, the one we're sitting in right now is the kind of 150 R-Line, and you can tell that because it gets these cloth bucket seats, which I think are the best seats in the range. The seats actually, we're told, have been designed from the ground up, even in the base car. But then in the Elegance and the top spec 195 R-Line, you get sort of leather trimmed seats, but these bucket seat ones are actually, I think, the nicest. And then we get to the practicality touches, of which there are many. So obviously, just like the previous car, it's really quite spacious in here. For me to find my own driving position is really easy. There's full adjust for the steering wheel, both telescopic and up and down. The seats are really adjustable. I don't even mind the fact that these ones are manual adjust. That's quite nice. Soft kind of places to put your elbows, both for this center console and in the door here. And there's a full set of physical controls there too, which you don't quite get in the ID4. Notable. There's also carpeting for all of these storage bays in here, which means that things don't rattle around, which is something I appreciate. And there's also a set of dual cup holders in here, but it's actually more versatile than that, because if I take my bottle out of there, you can actually remove the cup holders entirely. You can get rid of that, and then you've got a storage bay here, or you can put them further down in the console there if you want to hide things away. And if you don't want to do that, you've also got these little dividers that you can sort of place wherever you need them, so you can still split things up and keep your objects secure. Really clever interior sort of modularity there, and that's something that the ID4 and ID5 do as well. You also got this thing, which is a typical Volkswagen thing of the multi-level armrest, which I know a lot of people will appreciate and can be annoyed by when it does that. But anyway, there you have it, still got it. But perhaps the most clever touch, and one that we would love to see in more cars because they're all moving to this kind of wireless charging center console feature, is the fact that it's got this little lid on it. Now, it seems a little silly because what you do is you grab your phone and you've got two wireless charging bays in here, and you pop your phone in there. But then the problem is, if you've got two phones in there and they are wirelessly charging, you can't throw any other objects in there, which is really annoying. But then you can just pop this little lid down and you've got a rubberized surface where you can put other things like sunglasses and stuff like that, where it's not actually going to scratch your phone up or get in the way, and your phone charger doesn't take up that whole area. So really clever. I quite like that. Then down here, I know we complained about the dials before, but you do get at least one dial, and it's this one here. It's multifunction, so you can tell it to do a few different things, switch through drive modes, what have you, just by pressing it down. And then you can rotate it for a volume dial, which is nice to have, or this one is set to drive modes, and then you can sort of use this little touch panel to swipe through and have it do a few other things like control the ambient lighting modes as well. You've got your start button there as well, and a digital handbrake. So there you have it. I actually think this is a really clever, really modern interior. Yes, I would love a few more dials and physical controls, but it's a real leap into the future for Volkswagen, and a really comfortable, versatile space too. Let's go have a look at the back seat. Okay, here in the back seat, and you can probably see straight away things are pretty good. I'm 182 centimeters tall, and that's behind my own driving position, and I've got heaps of knee room there, loads of space for my feet, although this platform does necessitate a large rise in the center there to have that drive line go through, so the center position is a little limited in how much room they have for their feet, which is a little bit of a shame. The other thing to note is this rear row is actually on a rail. So if you want, you can increase the amount of room in the boot by sliding it forward or backward, which is a rare touch in this mid-size segment. And the other things that you have, which are quite good in terms of storage, is a bottle holder in the door, again, carpeted in there. And then you've got this weird little fold down armrest thing. Now you might note there's no cup holders here, but actually there are, because there's this little drawer that folds out, and then you push these down and you've got two more bottle holders there, and you've got this weird little tray thing, which, I don't know, is that for a phone? It kind of looks like it is. So there you have it. That's quite clever. You don't see that in a lot of them, although I feel like a lot of the Chinese automakers are getting a lot more clever with those drop-down armrest pieces as well. In the center console here, you've got two USB-C ports, and you've got an independent third climate zone for these rear seats, which is nice because it also has its own temperature control and adjustable air vents as well. And then you've got pockets on the back of these bucket seats, one up here for phones and one down here for whatever else you've got. It's a really nice space. It is missing a handful of things that are present in other Volkswagen Group vehicles, like built-in shades and stuff like that. But on the whole, like, it's comfortable, it's spacious. There's not too much more you could ask for.
The boot is relatively large for the class, and thankfully the entire Tiguan range features a space-saver spare under the floor. Towing capacity is 2,300 kilos for the all-wheel drive variants, or just 1,800 kilos for the base 110 TSI front-wheel drive.
One thing you won't find under here is a hybrid system. No Tiguan from the launch is a hybrid. They are all combustion engines like the previous generation car. What you will find here is a base 1.4 litre 110 TSI engine in the entry-level cars. See the power figures for that on your screen now. They're very familiar, but they are paired with a new 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. We'll talk more about that in the driving section. Then at the middle of the range, you can get a 150 TSI engine. That's a new engine to the Tiguan range. See the power figures for that on your screen now. Again, same deal, 7-speed dual-clutch auto, but with an all-wheel drive system. Then at the top of the range, you've got the new 195 TSI. That's the sort of proper go-fast version of this car. It's not quite an R, but it's getting up there. It really is in terms of power. And again, 7-speed dual-clutch auto and an all-wheel drive system as well.
It is notable that Australian-delivered Tiguans don't get the mild hybrid 1.5 litre base engine, which is available overseas. The brand says that this was to cut complexity from the range and save on costs. Additionally, there's no word yet on the plug-in hybrid variant, with VW only telling us they're working on it as a potential future addition to the range. Without any hybrid variant, the Tiguan range doesn't reach the crazy fuel consumption of some of its rivals, like the Hyundai Tucson or Toyota RAV4. But the fuel consumption is not bad regardless, thanks to that new transmission and relatively trim engines. The base 110 TSI and mid-spec 150 TSI both have an official combined consumption of 7.6 litres to 100 kilometres, while the top-spec 195 TSI R-Line jumps a little to 8.5 litres to 100 Ks. All cars require at least mid-grade 95 RON unleaded.
Alright, so hopping behind the wheel of the Tiguan, straight away it's obvious that this is still an SUV that's about the drive. More than ever before, in fact, because this cabin design even is much more driver-centric than the previous version, and that's because this nice high belt line along here and the way that the dash cladding works really points your eyes down the road. You've got a nice chunky steering wheel in this top spec R-Line that we're driving now, and it all just makes it feel more like a hatchback than an SUV, which is a nice feeling to have. There is actually the spirit of a hot hatch still in here, and that's what Volkswagen has done to set itself apart, and they've done a good job of it. So if you're looking for a family SUV that has all of that space in the cabin and is still quite a bit of fun to drive, well, it's hard to go past one of these. Now, there are areas where I am surprised it's not perfect too. For example, usually we associate Volkswagen with like a really balanced ride quality and a nice ambience in the cabin, but this version of the Tiguan, I'm surprised to find, still has quite a lot of road noise, like especially on textured or rutted surfaces. A lot of that is communicated back into the cabin, which surprised me, because I would have thought moving on to an Evo version of this platform, there would have been further improvements to that kind of noise and vibration and harshness, but it doesn't seem like there has been, which is a bit of a shame. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not deal-breakingly noisy in here, but it is notable that there is quite a bit of vibration communicated through to the cabin.
But I was still surprised to find that there is this sharpness and this kind of hollowness present on a lot of surfaces in this car. Now, it's really good at dealing with undulations. It's really good at dealing with the smaller bumps and things like that, but just sharp imperfections, they're also communicated quite a lot to the cabin. Now, the trade-off for this, of course, is with those adaptive dampers and all the other settings that are available to you, you can tune that ride quality quite a bit to your preference. So in comfort, it can be a little bit more springy, still with those sharp moments though, and in sport, you can really firm it up. But the trade-off is that superior handling that makes this car so much fun to drive. And obviously you've got those nice solid gear changes of a dual clutch automatic and the turbo surge from all of the available engines that just make it much more exciting than your kind of regular crop of CVT autos or tired old naturally aspirated 2-litre engines as well. So there you have it. That's about it for the drive experience. The Tiguan really still is the driver's mid-size SUV for someone who wants a family, but maybe they're coming out of a hot hatch and they still want to have a bit of fun on a curvy road like the one we're on now. Now, when it comes to active safety, it's really good news on pretty much all fronts, because not only does every Tiguan get the full active safety suite, but on top of that, it's all really well calibrated, which if you watch some of our reviews, you'll know is increasingly rare, especially in this mid-size SUV segment where there's now so much competition. Now, at the time we shot this video, the Tiguan had not yet received an ANCAP score, so tune back in at a later date to see how it performs.
At the time we put this review together, VW had not yet provided service information for the new Tiguan, but expect the usual prepaid service packages as the most affordable way to keep this midsizer on the road. Generally, Volkswagens are slightly more expensive to service during the warranty period than their mainstream rival, so look out for that.
So there you have it, Volkswagen's next generation Tiguan. There's some surprises, like there's no hybridization this time around, which we were kind of hoping to see. Maybe it will come later in its life cycle, but that will be a little further down the track. So if that's what you're looking for, that's not what you're going to find here. Instead, what you will find is an SUV that sets itself apart from the rest of that mid-sized crowd by being a true driver's car. What do you think? Would you pick that over something like a hybrid rival like a Hyundai Tucson or a Toyota RAV4? Or would you pick it over one of its other new rivals from China? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And as always, check out my full written review over at carsguide.com.au.